Good morning, my dear friend. The first light of dawn rests quietly on the horizon, painting the sky with soft strokes of gold and gentle silver. The world is still half asleep, but in this fragile silence the air feels sacred, as if heaven itself bends closer to the earth. There is something holy about these early hours, when the noise of the day has not yet begun and the heart, if willing, can hear whispers of hope. This is a moment to pause, to breathe, and to allow your soul to remember that life is more than its burdens. Perhaps you know what it feels like to wake with heaviness. Maybe you have carried sorrow through a sleepless night, or perhaps fear has kept your mind racing with no rest. I think of a woman who once shared how she sat alone in her kitchen before sunrise, staring at an empty chair that used to be filled by the laughter of her husband who had passed away. The coffee in her hands grew cold as her tears blurred the edges of the world. She whispered into the silence, "How do I keep going when everything feels broken?" Her story is not unlike many others. Loss, disappointment, and the shadows of uncertainty can weigh on us until even the dawn feels dim. Yet it is in this very place of frailty that something remarkable can happen. The morning is not just the turning of a clock. It is a daily reminder that night does not last forever. Just as the sun rises unfailingly, so too does the promise of renewal come to those who dare believe. Faith does not erase pain, but it gives us the strength to face it. Prayer does not always remove the struggle, but it lifts our hearts to see beyond it. What if the emptiness we feel could become the space where divine love enters? What if every trembling breath could be transformed into a doorway to hope? The journey we are about to take together is not about escaping reality. It is about entering it more deeply with the assurance that we do not walk alone. In prayer, our fears are not denied, but carried by a strength greater than our own. Our wounds are not ignored, but held in the hands of the one who heals. Our questions are not silenced, but met with wisdom that whispers in stillness. Faith turns mornings like this into more than another day. It turns them into sacred beginnings. So as you listen, I invite you to unclench your hands, to loosen the grip of worry, and to allow your heart to open. These moments are an invitation to step beyond the ordinary and to encounter the presence of God in a fresh and personal way. You do not need to have perfect words, nor do you need to hide your doubts. Bring them all. Bring the grief, the longings, the hopes you barely dare to voice. Bring them as you are, because prayer is not a performance. It is a conversation. This morning, let the quiet be your sanctuary. Let the rising sun remind you that renewal is possible. Let the still air remind you that peace can be found even in the middle of storms. And let these next words guide you into a deeper communion, where faith becomes more than a belief and prayer becomes the very breath that carries you forward. Are you ready to step into this sacred dialogue? Then let us begin together, one heartbeat at a time, in the company of the one who never leaves us. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning I come to you with a heart that feels raw and unsteady. The first light of the day has touched my window, and yet inside I still sense the shadows of the night. I do not want to hide what I feel, because you see it already. I admit my weariness. the weight of yesterday still pressing on my chest, and the unspoken fears that linger at the edges of my thoughts. I confess that there are moments I wake with no strength to pretend. Moments when even hope feels like a far and distant country. But here in this fragile space, I open myself before you, longing for the touch of your presence. I bring to you the places within me that feel numb, where joy has gone quiet and faith has grown thin. I bring to you the ache that sits in silence because words cannot fully capture it. You know the details of my story, the parts I speak aloud and parts I keep locked away. You know the disappointments that have broken pieces of me, the regrets that echo late at night, and the fears that whisper at dawn. I do not need to explain them, for you read the hidden language of my soul. All I can do is hold them out before you, trembling, and ask for light to touch what has been left in darkness. Father, let this morning become a turning point. However small, even as the sky changes color with each passing minute, let my spirit begin to shift as well. Teach me to see that this day is not just another repetition of yesterday, but a gift, an unwrapped beginning, a page that waits to be written upon. I want to believe that newness is possible even when my emotions argue against it. I want to trust that the one who calls the sun to rise can also call my soul to awaken. If you are the creator of all things, then surely you can create in me a clean heart once again. Father, I admit how tired I am of carrying burdens that never seem to lessen. I confess that my own strength has run thin, and that I have tried too long to hold everything together on my own. My hands are weary from grasping, and my heart is tired from striving. This morning I lay down the illusion of control. I do not want to begin this day pretending I am enough without you. Instead, I stretch my hands wide in surrender. Meet me here in the silence of dawn, and let your strength be the air I breathe. I think of the valleys I have walked through, the seasons where shadows seemed endless, and yet even there you whispered life into me. I remember the nights when fear threatened to crush me, but somehow morning still arrived, carrying mercy I did not deserve. Today, I choose to remember those mercies and let them rise again like anchors in my soul. If you were faithful before, then I trust you are faithful still. Let that remembrance be a lantern to guide me as I take the first steps into this day. Father, I long for honesty more than empty words. Strip away the masks that I wear, the brave faces I put on for others, the polite responses that hide my trembling. Teach me the courage of being real with you. Remind me that you are not repelled by my weakness, but drawn near by my openness. You do not require me to be polished, only to be present. In this presence, I ask you to touch the fragile corners of my heart and to assure me that I am not alone. I see the sun slowly climbing, and it reminds me that you are constant, never failing to bring light to the world no matter how dark the night has been. Let this same constancy settle inside me. Let me rest in the truth that no shadow is final when your light breaks through. Even if I cannot see the full path ahead, give me enough light for this one step, enough hope for this one moment, enough strength for this one breath. I do not ask for the entire journey to be revealed, only for your presence to walk beside me through it. Father, awaken my heart to hear the quiet voice of your Spirit. In the stillness of this morning, Let me learn to notice the gentle nudges, the whispers of guidance, the invitations toward peace. I want to live today attuned to that soft leading, not drowned out by noise or fear. Help me to discern when to pause and when to move, when to speak and when to listen, when to hold on and when to let go. Train my heart to lean into your rhythm, rather than the hurried pace of the world. As I step into this day, I offer you not just my worries, but also my longings. You know the dreams that lie buried under layers of fatigue. You know the desires that feel too fragile to name. I place them in your hands, trusting that you hold them tenderly, shaping them in ways I cannot see. If they are meant to bloom, breathe life into them. If they are meant to be transformed, then give me grace to release them. Either way, let them not wither in silence, but be entrusted to your care. Father, I choose to believe that even in this moment of weakness, you are near. I choose to believe that the day ahead can be more than survival, that it can hold traces of beauty, signs of renewal, glimpses of your kingdom breaking in. I do not know what will come, but I know that I do not walk into it alone. Wrap me in the assurance of your presence, steady my trembling, and let this morning be the place where hope takes root again. Lord, as the morning unfolds, I sense how fragile my strength still is. Even after lifting my heart to you in the early light, yesterday's weight lingers, and though I have named it before you, I realize how quickly I reach again for control, how easily I grasp for answers I cannot provide. It is here, in this quiet hour, that I confess how little I can carry and how much I need to surrender. The air is cool and still, and in that stillness I hear the call not to cling, but to release, not to strive, but to yield. God, I admit that I often try to manage every detail, arranging outcomes as if I could bend life to my design. I stack plans one upon another until they tower over me like walls I cannot climb. I chase after perfection, believing that if I can just hold all the threads in my hands, then nothing will unravel. But the truth presses in on me. I am not made to hold everything. The tighter I grip, the more my spirit aches. Today I lay these restless hands before you and ask you to teach me how to open them. Father, I bring you the schedule that overwhelms me, the responsibilities that stretch me thin, and the uncertainties that wake me in the night. I set them down one by one like stones at your feet, no longer pretending I can carry them across the distance ahead. I release the fear of what people think, the pressure to be more than I am, the endless measuring of my worth against the standards of others. Take these burdens from me, Lord, and replace them with the peace that comes only from knowing I am yours. I do not want to surrender halfway, keeping one part hidden while offering another. I long for surrender that is whole, unreserved, and free. I want to wake each morning and say with honesty that my life belongs to you entirely, my plans, my hopes, my disappointments, my hidden wounds. I do not need to know where every road leads. I need only to know that you walk with me. If you ask me to wait, let me wait with patience. If you ask me to move, let me move with courage. Let surrender become not a single act, but the posture of my entire day. Lord, I feel the pull of self-reliance loosening as I sit here, In its place rises a strange and gentle strength, not from myself but from the trust that you are enough. I do not need to manufacture the outcome or guarantee the result. What I need is the courage to place it all in your hands and believe that your wisdom is greater than my plans. Teach me to rest in that wisdom the way a child rests in the arms of a parent, secure, unafraid, at peace. God, let my surrender not be empty words, but a living choice. Help me to recognize when I reach again for control and gently draw me back into trust. Show me how to breathe in faith and breathe out fear, how to pause before reacting, how to let silence replace anxiety. I do not want surrender to be weakness. I want it to be strength born from yielding to your will. Remind me that surrender is not giving up life, but finding it, not losing freedom, but discovering true freedom in you. Father, this morning I place before you the dreams I hold most tightly. Some are old and worn, long delayed, yet I still grip them with wary hope. Others are fragile and new, fragile enough that I fear speaking them aloud. I surrender both. I trust that you will shape them according to your purpose, that you will breathe life into it should live and gently close the doors that lead nowhere. Give me grace to accept both answers, to rejoice when you say yes, and to trust when you say no. Lord, I yield not only my future, but also my present. I yield the words I will speak today, the choices I will make, the paths I will take. Guard my steps so that even in surrender I do not drift aimlessly, but move in rhythm with your spirit. Let me learn to listen closely, to sense your direction even in small details, to find peace in the waiting and strength in the obedience. My heart is open, my hands are empty, and I stand before you ready to be led. God, let this surrender be my song at dawn, a melody that rises not from triumph, but from trust. Let it shape how I carry myself through each moment, how I love others, how I respond when uncertainty presses in. May this act of yielding become a testimony that I do not need to be enough on my own, because you are more than enough for me. And as the light spreads across the morning sky, let my spirit spread open in the same way. Fully surrendered, fully yours. Father, as I release my grasp and yield myself to you, I begin to sense the need to remember where you have already led me. Surrender does not stand alone. It is strengthened when I recall the times you carried me through valleys I thought would never end. When I look back on the path behind me, scattered with both failures and mercies, I cannot deny that your hand was there. Even in the seasons when I felt abandoned, when my prayers seemed to echo in silence, I now see traces of your care woven quietly through the ordinary. To move forward in trust, I must first remember the story of faithfulness you have already written in me. Lord, I think of the nights when fear sat heavy on my chest, and yet morning still arrived with a peace I could not explain. I think of the doors that closed and broke my heart, only for new ones to open later that led to places far better than I had imagined. I think of the friendships that held me when loneliness pressed hard, of the unexpected provision that came when resources were gone, of the healing that touched me in the very places I had hidden my pain. These are the stones of remembrance along my road, each one a marker of your steady presence. I cannot ignore them, for they are proof that even in my weakest hours you were near. God, help me to hold these memories close, not as nostalgic fragments, but as living reminders that shape my confidence today. Too often I forget. Too often I allow present troubles to erase the history of grace behind me. Teach me to pause and gather these moments, stacking them like an altar in my heart. Let every memory become a testimony that whispers in my spirit, "You were faithful then. You will be faithful now." Let my mind dwell not on the weight of unanswered questions, but on the countless times you answered in ways far deeper than I expected. Father, I bring before you the gratitude that wells up as I remember, gratitude that is not shallow cheerfulness, but a deep recognition that my story would be very different without you. Gratitude that humbles me, reminding me that I did not make it here by my own wisdom or strength. Gratitude that shifts my gaze from the storms around me to the anchor that has always held firm beneath me. May this gratitude become the soil where new trust can grow, even in places where I feel uncertain. Lord, I confess that it is easier to remember my failures than your faithfulness. My mind replays regrets like a broken record, while miracles fade from memory too quickly. Change this pattern within me. Teach my heart to highlight your goodness more than my mistakes. Teach me to carry testimonies as shields against discouragement when doubt rises. Let remembrance answer it when fear whispers. Let gratitude speak louder when despair looms. Let memory of your love push it back. God, I ask you to open my eyes to fresh reminders today. Let me see the evidence of your care in small details. I might overlook a word of encouragement from a friend, the calmness that settles when I pray, the beauty of creation that greets me with silent assurance. Help me to collect these moments like treasures, storing them not for hoarding, but for strength in tomorrow's battles. Each reminder is a thread of your faithfulness, weaving into the tapestry of my life, a design I cannot yet see fully, but one I trust will reveal beauty. Father, as I stand here between memory and hope, I realize how much remembering shapes my courage to move forward. It tells me that I am not abandoned. It tells me that even when I cannot feel it, you are at work. It tells me that what looks like loss can become the seedbed of renewal. Remembering changes the story I tell myself. Instead of a narrative of failure, becomes a narrative of grace. Instead of despair, it becomes expectation. Instead of defeat, it becomes resilience. Lord, I offer these memories back to you, not clinging to them, but using them as stepping stones into the future. Do not let me idolize the past, but help me to honor it as evidence of your living presence. Let every testimony I carry become fuel for the journey ahead. Let every answered prayer remind me to pray again. Let every moment of rescue remind me to call on you in new struggles. Let every healing remind me that no wound is beyond your touch. God, if there are memories that still ache with unresolved sorrow, meet me there as well. Show me how even those places can be redeemed, how even tears can water seeds of growth. Where pain remains, let trust grow deeper. Where confusion lingers, let your wisdom slowly unfold. Where bitterness threatens, let forgiveness take root. Nothing is wasted in your hands, not even my failures, not even my wounds. Father, I walk into this day carrying the living testimony of all you have done. I may not know what the hours ahead will hold, but I know who holds me. I may not control the twists of the path, but I know the one who guides each step. As I remember, my heart steadies. As I remember, my spirit lifts. As I remember, surrender becomes easier, trust becomes stronger, and love becomes deeper. Let remembrance be the rhythm that steadies me through every challenge, reminding me again and again that your faithfulness has no end. Lord, as I look back and remember your steady hand guiding me through valleys and lifting me into new mornings, I realize that true remembrance calls me to honesty. Gratitude grows deeper when paired with confession, because I cannot speak of your faithfulness without also naming the places where I have resisted it. My memory shows me not only how you have carried me, but also how often I have stumbled away from trust, how often I have chosen my own voice above yours. And so, Father, I come now with the courage to bring not just gratitude, but truth, not just praise, but repentance. For love cannot grow without honesty. God, I confess the hidden corners of my heart where pride lingers, convincing me that I can walk alone. I confess the careless words that wounded others when I spoke out of impatience instead of kindness. I confess the moments when I stayed silent, though I knew I should have spoken truth, choosing comfort over courage. I confess the bitterness I have nurtured like a seed watered in secret, only to discover it has grown roots that choke joy. I confess the times I chased after approval rather than seeking to rest in your delight. Nothing is hidden from you, yet still you wait for me to open these places willingly, to bring them into your light. Father, let me not tremble in shame, but in awe of your mercy. Shame tells me to hide, but confession leads me to freedom. I choose to stand here without disguise, trusting that your gaze is not harsh, but healing. I do not confess to earn forgiveness, but to live in it. I do not speak these failures to sink in regret, but to rise in renewal. Even as I name them, I sense the chains loosening, the weight lifting, the heavy silence giving way to relief. What I thought would bring condemnation instead brings release, because your love is greater than my sin. Lord, teach me the difference between regret that cripples and repentance that restores. Regret only replays the past, but repentance builds a new path forward. Let me walk that path with open eyes and steady steps. Where I have wronged others, give me humility to seek repair. Where I have chosen selfishness, give me strength to choose service. Where I have been blind, open my eyes to see more clearly. Where I have turned away, turn me back toward your heart. Confession is not the end, but the beginning. And I long for the beginning that comes through your mercy. God, I confess also the good I have left undone, the listening I withheld, the kindness I delayed, the generosity I postponed for another day that never came. Forgive the hesitations that cost someone else comfort. Forgive the excuses that sounded reasonable, but revealed a lack of love. Forgive the distractions I allowed to crowd out what mattered most. These are not small things, for they ripple into lives beyond my own. Yet I bring them all to you, believing that even what I left undone can be reshaped into opportunities for good. Father, in this confession I ask for more than pardon. I ask for transformation. Let these words not dissolve into memory, but take root as seeds of change. Shape me like clay in the hands of a potter, pressing away the rough edges, reshaping what has cracked, smoothing what has hardened. Let the fire of your presence refine me, not to destroy but to strengthen. Create in me a heart that reflects your compassion, a spirit that carries gentleness, and a will that seeks truth above comfort. Let me not merely avoid old mistakes, but grow into new patterns of grace. Lord, if confession feels heavy, let your mercy make it light. If I feel the sting of regret, let it remind me that you are drawing me closer, not pushing me away. If I fear that my failures are too many, remind me that the cross has already answered them all. If I doubt my ability to change, remind me that I do not change alone, but with the Spirit who renews me daily. Give me the courage to confess again tomorrow and the next day, knowing that confession is not weakness but strength, not defeat but victory, because it keeps me near to you. God, I open my heart wider now, asking you to search the places I have not yet dared to name. If there is envy hiding beneath ambition, bring it to the surface. If there is resentment disguised as caution, uncover it. If there is fear hiding as control, reveal it. Do not let me walk into this day with blind spots that harden into habits. Let your light expose even what I do not yet recognize. And when you show me, let me not turn away in denial, but receive the truth with humility and hope. Father, I trust that you welcome this confession not with anger, but with compassion, not with rejection, but with embrace. I trust that you are the healer who binds wounds gently, the shepherd who carries the lost sheep on his shoulders, the artist who restores what is broken into something more beautiful than before. I trust that my past does not define me, that my mistakes do not imprison me, that my failures do not disqualify me, because your mercy is wider, deeper, stronger than them all. Let this confession be not only words, but the doorway into a freer life. Lord, I walk from this moment lighter than when I began. The courage to confess has given me courage to live. For I know that I am not trapped by what has been as the day stretches before me. Let me carry this freedom into each encounter, into each word, into each decision. Let me remember that to confess is to trust, to repent is to grow, to be forgiven is to live again. And so I step forward not with fear, but with hope, carrying the certainty that your love covers me, restores me, and makes me new. Father, after confessing the broken places and laying them bare before you, I sense a longing rising within me to step into something new. Confession has cleared space, but now that space feels like an empty room waiting to be filled. I no longer want to live defined by the echoes of my mistakes or the shadows of regret. I want to live defined by the name you call me, by the truth of who I am in your eyes. I want to wear that identity as clearly as the dawn wears its light. Lord, so often I have clung to the labels the world has given me. Or worse, the ones I have given myself. I have whispered to myself that I am not enough, that I am weak, that I am unworthy. I have let the failures of my past tattoo words across my heart, words like failure, imposter, forgotten. These names have shaped how I see myself and how I step into each day. They have built invisible walls around me, walls that block the joy of freedom, But today I stand before you and ask you to rewrite those names, to inscribe something truer, something holy, something that comes from your love rather than my wounds. God, I believe you call me beloved. That word feels heavy with grace, a grace I often struggle to believe. To be beloved means I am chosen, not because of my performance, but because of your heart. It means I am seen in my entirety and still wanted, still cherished. When I let that truth sink in, the old names lose their power. They may whisper, but they cannot command me. They may linger, but they cannot define me. For when you say beloved, it drowns out every lie, every cruel echo, every voice that says I am not enough. Father, I believe you also call me redeemed. This is more than forgiveness, it is restoration. Redeemed means the broken pieces have been gathered, cleansed, and given back with purpose. Redeemed means my scars are not marks of shame, but stories of grace. Redeemed means I can walk without fear that my past will disqualify me, because it has already been woven into a testimony of mercy. I receive this name with trembling gratitude, letting it reshape the way I walk into the world. Lord, I believe you call me a child of light. This identity is not about my own brightness, but about the light you place within me. It is a light that pushes back darkness, a light that guides my steps, a light that can spill into the lives of others without me even realizing it. Too long I have walked as though the darkness inside me was stronger than the light you planted there. Today I choose to believe the light is stronger. I choose to carry myself as one who has been given this gift not to boast, but to shine with quiet courage. God, let these names sink deeper than the old ones ever did. Let them move beyond mere words into the marrow of who I am. Write them across my thoughts so that when I doubt, I remember. Write them across my emotions so that when I feel small, I rise in truth. Write them across my actions so that every decision flows from identity, not insecurity. Let them be like a cloak I put on each morning, clothing me with dignity, courage, and gentleness. Father, as I receive these names, I also release the power of the old ones. I lay down every false identity I have carried. I lay down the mask of competence that hides my fear. I lay down the shield of cynicism that pretends not to care. I lay down the chains of comparison that leave me restless. In their place, I take up the mantle of who you say I am. This exchange is not only for me, but for those around me. Because when I live as beloved, redeemed, and a child of light, others glimpse your heart through my life. Lord, I ask you to remind me daily of this new identity, especially in the moments when I forget, when criticism pierces me. Whisper beloved, when shame presses in. Whisper redeemed, when despair clouds my vision. Whisper child of light. Let these reminders be like steady hands lifting me when I stumble. Let them become the rhythm of my days, turning even ordinary moments into holy ground, because I walk in truth. God, I know that receiving a new name means living differently. It means carrying myself with humility, but also with confidence. It means no longer shrinking in fear of what others may say, and no longer inflating myself with pride. It means walking steadily, knowing I am secure. It means speaking words that reflect the worth I now know, words that heal instead of harm, words that affirm instead of tear down. It means acting with compassion, because those who know they are beloved can extend love freely. Father, let this new identity shape my future. Let it guide my choices, my relationships, my work, my rest. Let it become the well I draw from when the world feels dry. Let it become the compass that points me back to you when I am lost. Let it become the song I carry in my heart when silence surrounds me. This morning, I stand before you not as who I once was, but as who you declare me to be. And in that truth, I step forward with courage, ready to live not under the weight of old names, but in the freedom of the new. Father, as I embrace the new identity you have spoken over me, I begin to notice how easily I still try to carry burdens that were never mine to hold. Even when I call myself beloved, redeemed, and a child of light, I often find my shoulders hunched beneath the weight of anxiety, expectation, and responsibility. These weights cling quietly, convincing me that I must keep striving, that if I do not hold everything together, the world will unravel. But this morning, in your presence, I feel the invitation to let go, to release what has been pressing against my chest, to walk lighter than I have walked before. Lord, I admit that I tend to hold too tightly to worries about tomorrow. I rehearse scenarios in my mind, imagining every possible outcome, as if worrying could somehow prepare me for what is ahead. Yet all it does is drain the strength I need for today. You remind me that each day carries enough of its own, that tomorrow is not mine to control. Still, the habit of worry is strong. That is why I bring it to you now, asking that you take it from me and replace it with trust. Let me wake not with dread, but with expectation, not with fear, but with peace. God, I also confess the burden of expectations, both from others and from myself. I hear voices that demand perfection, productivity, and performance. I place demands on my own heart that are impossible to meet, and when I fail, I carry disappointment like a heavy stone. This morning I choose to set those stones down. I am not defined by how much I accomplish. I am not measured by the approval of others. I am defined by your love, steady and unchanging. Teach me to live under the weight of grace rather than the weight of expectation. Father, I feel the weariness of trying to fix what is broken in the lives around me. My heart aches for those I love, and I long to shield them from pain. But I forget that I am not their savior. I take on burdens that belong to you, burdens too heavy for me to bear. Today, I lay down the need to rescue and instead trust that you are already at work in their stories. Let me carry them in prayer, not in anxious striving. Let me walk beside them with compassion, not with control. Let me release them into your hands, where they are safest. Lord, sometimes the heaviest weight is the silence I carry inside, the thoughts and fears I never speak aloud. I bury them deep, convincing myself they are mine alone to hold. But they press on me until I can hardly breathe. You invite me to bring even those hidden burdens to you. The ones too tender to name, the ones I barely admit even to myself. You remind me that no weight is too small for you to notice, no sigh too quiet for you to hear. So I pour them out now, one by one, trusting that your love will catch every unspoken cry. God, I long for the freedom of walking unencumbered. I imagine what it would feel like to rise in the morning, without the heaviness pressing on my spirit. I imagine what it would be to face the day with calmness, moving slowly, breathing deeply, trusting steadily. This is the life you promise, the yoke that is easy, the burden that is light. Teach me to exchange the crushing loads I create for the gentle weight of your presence. Teach me to carry only what is mine to carry, and to trust you with all that is beyond my grasp. Father, as I let these burdens go, I ask you to fill the empty spaces with peace, not fleeting comfort that disappears at the first sign of trouble, but deep peace that settles like still water, quieting the storms within me. Let this peace guard my mind against racing thoughts, and guard my heart against panic. Let it surround me like a soft shield, reminding me that I am safe, that I am held, that nothing has the power to steal what you have given. May this peace be the rhythm of my steps today, a rhythm that cannot be broken by the chaos around me. Lord, I know that laying down the weight is not a one-time act, but a daily choice. I will be tempted to pick it up again, to worry once more, to strive again, to control again. When that temptation comes, remind me of this moment. Remind me of the freedom I feel when I release it. Remind me that trust is stronger than fear, that surrender is lighter than striving, that peace is deeper than anxiety. Let me come back to this choice again and again until it becomes the pattern of my life. God, I ask for the wisdom to discern which responsibilities are mine to hold and which are not. Give me clarity to recognize the difference between diligence and control, between care and worry, between love and overburden. Teach me to act faithfully in what you entrust to me, while releasing what belongs to you. Let this balance keep me from exhaustion and guide me into rest. Let it protect me from pride that assumes I can carry it all, and from despair that believes I cannot carry anything. Father, this morning I release it all into your hands, the worry, the expectations, the need to rescue, the silent fears, the heavy silence, the restless striving. I let it all slip from my grasp. Knowing that you can carry what I cannot, I rise lighter, freer, steadier, and in that freedom, I step into this day with open hands, ready to receive what you will give, ready to walk at your pace, ready to live not under the weight of anxiety, but under the shelter of peace. Father, as I let go of the burdens that have weighed me down, I notice the quiet spaces within me that ache for something deeper than release. Laying down the weight has given me room to breathe. In that stillness, I can feel the wounds I have tried to ignore. They are not always visible, yet they whisper in the background of my days. They shape my thoughts, my reactions, even the way I love. Some of these wounds are old, carried from seasons long past. Others are fresh, tender to the touch, reminding me of losses I cannot yet make sense of. I bring them to you now, because only you can reach those places that lie hidden behind silence and fear. Lord, I confess that I have often tried to cover these wounds with distraction. I have busied myself with tasks, filled the air with noise, and wrapped my heart in armor, hoping the pain would fade on its own. Yet I know now that ignoring them has only allowed them to fester. They rise up at unexpected times, spilling into words I did not mean or decisions I later regret. I am tired of pretending they are not there. I am tired of being shaped by what I have not faced. So I open them before you, trembling but willing, trusting that your touch is gentle enough to heal what I dare not reveal to anyone else. God, you are the one who binds up the broken-hearted. I believe that no wound is beyond your reach. I believe that no scar is too deep for your love to cover. As I sit in your presence, I ask you to pour your healing into the places I cannot fix. Heal the memories that replay with sharpness. Heal the regrets that weigh heavy. Heal the fears that have carved pathways through my thoughts. Let your love seep into the cracks, filling them not with forgetfulness, but with grace that transforms pain into strength. Father, I think of the times when others have spoken words that cut like knives. Those words still echo in me, convincing me of lies about who I am and what I am worth. Today, I ask you to silence those voices and replace them with truth. Where I have believed I am unworthy, remind me I am cherished. Where I have believed I am weak, remind me I am held. Where I have believed I am alone, remind me that you are near. Let every lie lose its grip, every wound lose its sting, as your truth takes root deeper than the pain. Lord, I bring to you not only wounds from others, but also the wounds I have inflicted on myself. Choices I regret, moments I wish I could undo, patterns I allowed to take root. These wounds feel heavier because they carry my own fingerprints. Yet I know your mercy covers even these. Teach me to forgive myself as you have forgiven me. Heal the shame that lingers long after you have declared me free. Let me walk forward, not chained to the past, but carrying wisdom born of redemption. God, I ask for healing not just of heart, but of body and mind as well, where stress has settled in muscles. Release it. Where anxiety has worn grooves into my thoughts, smooth them with peace. Where fatigue has drained strength, restore it. You created this body, and you know how to renew it. I ask you to breathe life into every part of me, making whole what has been fractured. Let my body become not a battlefield of worry, but a dwelling place of peace. Father, healing often feels slow, and I confess my impatience. I want quick fixes. Yet you work with care, layer by layer, gently untying knots that took years to form. Give me the courage to wait in this process, trusting that each step matters even when I cannot see the full picture. Let me celebrate the small signs of change, the softened reaction, the calmer thought, the restored relationship. Teach me that healing is not just about the destination, but about learning to walk closely with you along the way. Lord, as I receive your healing, make me a vessel of healing for others. Help me to listen without judgment, to comfort without trying to control, to sit with others in their pain without rushing them toward solutions. Use my scars not as reminders of failure, but as bridges of compassion. Let the love you pour into me overflow into the lives of those who are hurting, so that they too may find hope and restoration. God, I ask you to sanctify even the memories that still sting. Do not let them define me, but let them teach me. Do not let them close me, but let them open me to deeper empathy. Do not let them harden me, but let them soften me into gentleness. Where I once saw only pain, let me begin to see resilience. Where I once saw only loss, let me begin to see growth. Where I once saw only weakness, let me begin to see grace. Father, I leave these hidden places in your hands, believing that what I entrust to you cannot remain the same. You do not erase wounds as if they never happened, but you redeem them, turning them into signs of your love and strength. This morning I stand not only lighter from laying down burdens, but also braver for opening what has been closed. And as I step forward, I trust that healing has begun, that even now you are working within me, shaping me into someone freer, stronger, and more whole than before. Father, as I entrust the hidden wounds to your healing hands, I realize there are also chains that still cling to me. Patterns I have carried for so long, they almost feel like part of who I am. These are the habits that return again and again, the thoughts that circle endlessly, the reactions I wish I could undo but somehow repeat. Some of them look small on the surface, yet they shape my days with quiet power. Others are heavier, pulling me down with shame and leaving me weary from the struggle. I do not want to live bound by these any longer. I long for freedom that is real, not just spoken but lived. Freedom that comes from you alone. Lord, I admit how many times I have tried to break these cycles on my own. I have made promises to myself, set strict plans, and built walls of determination, only to watch them crumble at the first wave of temptation or weariness. I have grown frustrated with myself, wondering why I cannot simply do better, why I keep returning to what hurts me. Yet now I see that freedom is not about trying harder, but about surrendering deeper. It is about allowing you to reach into the roots of what binds me and pull them out with tenderness and strength. God, I bring before you the fears that grip me, the anxieties that steal my rest, the resentments I rehearse in my mind, the desires that twist into cravings I cannot control. These cling to me like heavy garments, and I confess that at times I have worn them as if they were part of my identity. But they are not who I am. You have called me your child, and your child is not meant to live enslaved. Teach me to see myself not as the sum of my struggles, but as one who is being set free by your Spirit. Father, I ask for courage to name what holds me, because freedom begins with honesty. If I am chained to fear of failure, let me speak it. If I am tangled in bitterness, let me confess it. If I am bound by unhealthy desires, let me bring them to you without disguise. In naming them, I refuse to let them define me in silence. In speaking them, I hand them into your keeping, asking you to break their hold and teach me a new way. Lord, I ask you to replace these patterns with something stronger. Where fear has ruled, plant trust. Where resentment has grown, plant forgiveness. Where unhealthy desires have consumed me, Plant contentment. Where shame has lingered, plant grace. Do not simply strip away what binds me. Clothe me instead with new habits of hope, patience, and peace. Let these new rhythms take root so deeply that they become part of who I am, shaping me into someone freer, steadier, and more alive. God, I know that freedom is not always instant. Sometimes it comes slowly, step by step, like a prisoner learning how to walk again after being released. Give me patience in the process. When I stumble, remind me that falling does not mean failing, that progress is still progress even when it feels small. Let me celebrate each step forward, each temptation resisted, each thought redirected, as evidence of your spirit at work in me. Father, I ask that you surround me with support as I pursue this freedom. Bring people into my life who will encourage me, challenge me, and remind me of truth when I forget. Give me humility to receive their help and courage to be honest about my struggles. Let community become a place of healing rather than hiding, a space where I can grow stronger by walking with others who also long to be free. Lord, I pray also for vigilance. Break the illusions that tell me I can handle temptation on my own. Give me eyes to see the triggers that lead me back into old patterns, and wisdom to step away before they tighten around me. Train my heart to lean on prayer instead of willpower, to call on your name in the very moment of weakness, believing that your strength is made perfect in my frailty. God, I ask you to teach me what true freedom feels like. Let it be more than the absence of chains. Let it be the presence of joy. Let it be the quiet confidence that I do not have to be ruled by impulses or fears. Let it be the steady assurance that even when temptations come, I have the power to choose differently because you live within me. Let freedom become not just a momentary victory, but a way of life, a daily walking in step with your spirit. Father, I step into this day believing that freedom is possible. I believe that what has bound me does not have the final word. I believe that the grip of old patterns is loosening even now. I believe that you are creating a future where I will live lighter, steadier, no longer pulled back by what once defined me. As I breathe this prayer, I sense chains falling, walls cracking, doors opening, and I choose to walk forward, no longer clinging to what once clung to me, but holding fast instead to the hope of a life fully free in you. Lord, as freedom begins to break through the old patterns that once bound me, I notice how fragile and tender that freedom feels. It is not a loud victory, not a sudden rush of triumph, but more like the quiet unfolding of dawn. Peace does not always flood in like a river. Sometimes it comes like dew, forming drop by drop in silence. And though my heart longs for instant calm, I realize that true peace is often a journey, one that teaches me to walk slowly, to wait patiently, and to lean on you in every step. Father, I confess how restless I often am. When struggles ease for a moment, I want the relief to last forever. When storms calm, I want them never to return. Yet peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of trust in the midst of it. I still find myself fighting against this truth, longing for a life without difficulty, when you have promised instead a peace that holds steady even when the winds rise again. Teach me to welcome this slower path, to see the beauty in the gradual, to honor the process rather than demand the finish line. God, I bring before you the places where my soul is still unsettled, the fears that whisper when I close my eyes, the doubts that surface when answers delay, the impatience that rises when I do not see change quickly enough. I place these before you, asking not for them to vanish in an instant, but for them to be transformed into opportunities to trust. Let every anxious thought become a reminder to breathe in your presence. Let every restless moment become a chance to return to stillness. Let every delay become a lesson in patience. Lord, I think of the way the sea looks at sunrise, waves still moving, but the light softening the horizon. That is how I imagine peace with you, not a frozen stillness, but a gentle steadiness, movement wrapped in calm. I long for my inner world to reflect that same picture, not untouched by life's waves, but held steady by the light of your love. Let that image remind me that peace is not about stopping the tide, but about knowing who commands the sea. Father, help me to slow down enough to notice the gifts of this journey. The quiet breath that steadies me in the morning, the small encouragement that lifts me when I feel low, the kindness that surprises me in ordinary places. Too often I rush past these gifts, chasing after something larger, when all along peace was being offered in pieces small enough to hold. Teach me to gather them, to treasure them, to let them remind me that you are near. God, I ask you to reframe the way I see waiting. Waiting has often felt like wasted time, but with you it can become sacred space. Waiting is where my roots grow deeper, where my faith learns resilience, where my hope stretches beyond what is visible. Let me not despise the slow unfolding of peace, but embrace it as the rhythm of your kingdom. If the world teaches me to hurry, let your spirit teach me to linger. If the world measures sex by speed, let me measure it by depth. Lord, I admit there are times when the slow path frustrates me, when healing feels incomplete, when freedom feels fragile, when peace feels fleeting. In those moments, remind me that even growth I cannot see is still happening. Roots sink deep before branches spread wide. Seeds break open before blossoms appear. So it is with my soul. Even when I feel stagnant, you are working beneath the surface, shaping me for more than I can yet imagine. Give me the faith to trust what is unseen. Father, let your peace guard not only my heart, but also my mind. When thoughts spiral, catch them before they consume me. When worries multiply, still them with your truth. When fear tries to write the story, remind me of your promises. Let peace become the filter through which I see the world, so that instead of reacting with panic, I respond with calm. Instead of rushing in fear, I move with steadiness. God, I ask that this peace not remain only within me, but flow outward into the lives I touch. Let the calm you cultivate in me become a refuge for others. Let my words carry gentleness instead of haste. My presence brings steadiness instead of chaos. My actions reflect patience instead of pressure. In a world hungry for rest, let my life bear witness to the peace you give, a peace that surpasses understanding and endures through every storm. Lord, as I walk this slow path, I do not ask to rush ahead. I ask only to keep moving with you, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. Let today be enough. Let this pace be enough. Let your presence be enough, and as peace continues to unfold within me, may I learn to live not in fear of its loss, but in trust of its permanence. Believing that once you plant peace in my heart, nothing has the power to uproot it. Father, as I learn to walk patiently on the slow path of peace, I realize how much I need a place where my soul can rest completely. Peace teaches me to move steadily, but refuge teaches me where to go when storms press in harder than I can endure. There are days when even the calm I have learned to hold feels fragile, when fear rises like floodwaters, and I search for something solid to cling to. In those moments, you become not just my guide, but my shelter, my hiding place, my fortress. And today, as I lift my heart, I long to dwell in that safety, to know what it means to rest beneath the shadow of your protection. Lord, I confess that I often search for refuge in places that cannot protect me. I turn to distractions that numb but never heal, to people who comfort but cannot carry my soul, to achievements that temporarily lift me but cannot hold me steady. These shelters are fragile, easily broken, quickly fading. They offer a moment of relief, but never true rest. Only you are strong enough, enduring enough, wide enough to cover me completely. Only you are a refuge that cannot be shaken. Teach me to run first to you, not as a last resort, but as my first instinct. God, when I picture your refuge, I imagine a high fortress standing firm against the winds, walls built not of stone but of love, unbreakable, surrounding me on every side. Within those walls, fear loses its voice, and danger cannot reach me. Even if storms rage outside, inside I am steady because I am hidden in you. Let that image settle deeply into my spirit, so that whenever I feel exposed or fragile, I remember that I am not unprotected. I am not left alone. I am not vulnerable to destruction. You cover me with your wings, and beneath them I am safe. Father, I ask you to remind me that refuge is not about escaping life, but about finding strength to live it. It is not about hiding in fear, but about being restored so I can step back into the world with courage. When I come to you, wary and trembling, let me leave renewed and steady. When I bring you my brokenness, let me rise with resilience. When I sit in your shelter, let me hear not the noise of the storm, but the quiet of your voice, telling me I am loved, I am held, I am secure. Lord, in this refuge I confess my exhaustion. The demands of life stretch me thin. The noise of the world fills my mind, and the pace of each day leaves me weary. But here in your presence I find rest that no sleep can give, comfort that no words can provide, strength that no effort can create. Here I am reminded that I am more than my work, more than my mistakes, more than my fears. I am yours, and that is enough. God, let this refuge become not just a moment, but a dwelling place. Teach me how to carry it within me, so that even when I step into crowded rooms or busy streets, I remain sheltered in you. Let my heart be like a sanctuary, a hidden space where I can return to your presence with a single breath. Let this inner refuge keep me steady when chaos swirls around me, reminding me that I live surrounded not by uncertainty, but by your faithfulness. Father, I ask also for the grace to invite others into this refuge. There are people around me carrying storms heavier than my own, searching for a place to rest. Let my life point them to you. Let my words offer glimpses of your shelter. Let my actions become signs that there is a fortress greater than their fears. Do not let me hoard this safety for myself, but make me a doorway that others may pass through, a witness to the refuge you provide for all who seek you. Lord, I remember the moments when I have felt utterly overwhelmed, when the shadows seemed too thick and the noise too loud. In those times, somehow I was carried, somehow I was steadied, somehow I survived. Looking back, I know it was your refuge that held me even when I did not recognize it. That memory gives me courage now, reminding me that if you have been my shelter before, you will be my shelter still. God, let this morning be marked by the certainty of safety, no matter what waits ahead, whether joy or difficulty, ease or struggle. I walk forward with the assurance that I am surrounded by your fortress. Fear may knock, but it cannot enter. Doubt may whisper, but it cannot stay. Trouble may rise, but it cannot destroy. For I am hidden in you, and nothing can separate me from the shelter of your love. Father, as I rest in this refuge, let gratitude fill me. Gratitude that I am never alone. Gratitude that my safety does not depend on my strength. Gratitude that even when the world shakes, I am steady in you. And as this gratitude rises, may it become the song of my day, the strength of my steps, and the peace of my heart, carrying me through whatever comes, with the quiet confidence that I am held in the fortress of your embrace. Father, resting in the safety of your refuge, I find myself learning something I have resisted for so long: the art of being held. I have often believed that strength meant standing on my own, carrying my own weight, proving that I could endure without leaning too heavily on anyone. Yet the longer I walk this journey, the clearer it becomes that true strength is not independence but surrender, not self-sufficiency but trust. In your fortress, I realize that safety is not only about walls of protection, but also about arms that embrace, hands that hold, and a presence that steadies me when my own legs falter. Lord, I admit how hard it is for me to rest in being held. My instinct is to rise quickly, to act, to solve, to run ahead. I rush to prove my worth, to silence my fears, to fix what feels broken. But you call me to something quieter, something humbler: to let myself be small, to lean against you, to allow the weight I carry to rest fully on your shoulders. It feels vulnerable, almost frightening, to stop striving and simply be embraced. Yet in this very vulnerability, I begin to sense the depth of your love, a love that does not demand performance, but delights in presence. God, I think of the way a child rests against a parent, unguarded, trusting without calculation. The child does not wonder if it is worthy of being held, nor does it resist the embrace. It simply leans in, believing that the arms that carry it are strong enough. Teach me to rest like that with you. Strip away the layers of resistance, the habits of self-reliance, the lies that tell me I must always be strong. Teach me to let go, to sink into the comfort of your embrace, To remember that I am not loved because I can hold myself up, but because you delight in holding me. Father, being held by you heals something deep within me. It tells me that I do not have to earn safety, that I do not have to prove belonging, that I do not have to hide my fragility. It tells me that weakness is not failure, but invitation. It tells me that tears are not a sign of collapse, but a sign of trust. Because only in the arms of one I trust can I let myself break open. You invite me to bring the parts of myself I usually hide, the trembling, the exhaustion, the doubts, and to rest them against your heart. Lord, I confess how often I have feared abandonment. Even when I trusted others, there was a voice inside whispering that they would eventually leave, that their patience would run out, that their arms would grow weary. That fear has shaped the way I love and the way I receive love. But with you, I am learning that your arms do not grow tired, that your embrace does not falter, that your presence does not fade. When I am held by you, I am held forever. No failure can pry me from your grip. No darkness can hide me from your reach. No storm can shake me from your embrace. God, let this truth become more than a fleeting comfort. Let it sink into the way I carry myself each day. When anxiety rises, remind me that I can pause and lean into you. When loneliness presses in, remind me that I am not unseen, that your arms surround me even in the silence. When exhaustion overwhelms, remind me that I do not have to keep pushing forward alone. Being held is not escape, it is renewal. It gives me the strength to rise again, not by my own might, but by the steady assurance of your love. Father, I ask you to hold not only my heart, but also my future. I often grasp tightly at what lies ahead, trying to control outcomes and predict paths. But what if I could let the future rest in your embrace as well? What if I could trust that the arms carrying me now will also carry me tomorrow, and the day after, and all the days beyond? Teach me to release not only my present, but also my future, trusting that your hold is strong enough for both. Lord, as I sit in the reality of being held, I feel the edges of my fear soften. The pace of my racing thoughts slows, the heaviness in my chest lifts. I realize that this is what I was made for, not endless striving, not constant proving, but communion with you, to be known fully and loved fully, to be fragile yet safe, to be small yet cherished, to be weak yet sustained. In your embrace, I find the truest version of myself, beloved, secure, and free. God, let this morning mark a turning point in how I live. Let me stop running from my need to be held. Let me resist the urge to armor myself against love. Let me instead walk with openness, with the steady awareness that I am carried. Let this awareness shape my relationships, making me gentler with others, more willing to hold them in their weakness as you hold me in mine. Let it shape my choices, reminding me that I do not move alone. Let it shape my spirit, grounding me in peace that no circumstance can take away. Father, as I step into the hours ahead, I carry this truth with me. I am held, no matter what I face, no matter how strong the winds blow, no matter how fragile I feel. I remain in the embrace of your love, and in that embrace, I find rest, I find courage, I find the freedom to simply be. Father, as I rest in the comfort of being held by you, I realize that there are still parts of me clinging to pain I have carried far too long, even while wrapped in your embrace. I sense the weight of memories, disappointments, and wounds that I have not fully released. I hold them tightly, as though they define me, as though letting them go would mean letting go of pieces of myself. But this morning I feel the quiet nudge of your spirit urging me to open my hands, to surrender what hurts, to allow your love to heal not only the surface, but the depths I have kept hidden. Lord, I admit that pain has become familiar to me. I know its shape, its sound, its rhythm. Sometimes I cling to it because it feels safer to hold on than to face the uncertainty of release. There is a strange comfort in the predictable H, even though it drains me. But you call me not to live in bondage to what has wounded me. You call me into freedom, into joy, into the wholeness that comes only when I let you carry what I was never meant to hold. I do not want to cling to chains disguised as comfort. I want to loosen my grip and trust that your hands are gentler and stronger than mine. God, I bring to you the grief I still carry, the losses that left empty chairs and silent rooms, the dreams that never came to life, the relationships that fractured and left scars behind. I bring to you the anger I have tucked away, the bitterness I have justified, the disappointments I have replayed over and over. These wounds have shaped the way I see myself and the way I see the world. But you remind me that they do not have to shape my future. I do not have to keep rehearsing pain. I can release it into your keeping, trusting that you will redeem what I cannot repair. Father, help me to forgive where I have been hurt. Forgiveness does not mean excusing wrong or forgetting betrayal. It means placing justice in your hands and refusing to let bitterness corrode my soul. It means choosing to free myself from the chains of resentment. I confess that forgiveness feels impossible at times, but with you it becomes possible. Teach me to forgive as I have been forgiven, not once, but daily, sometimes moment by moment. Let forgiveness become the door through which healing flows, both for me and for those who wounded me. Lord, I also need the grace to release the ways I have hurt myself, the shame I carry from poor choices, the self-condemnation that echoes louder than your voice of mercy, the constant replay of mistakes I cannot undo. I have punished myself long enough. Teach me to let go of self-hatred and receive the truth that you do not condemn me. Help me to see myself through your eyes, as one who is redeemed, renewed, and dearly loved. Let me step into freedom, not only from what others have done to me, but also from what I have done to myself. God, I ask you to show me how to lay these burdens down daily, not with a sweeping gesture that fades tomorrow, but with the consistent rhythm of surrender. Each time the memory rises, teach me to release it again. Each time resentment stirs, teach me to place it back in your hands. Each time shame whispers, teach me to silence it with your truth. Make letting go a way of life, a practice of trust that shapes the way I live, speak, and love. Father, as I release what hurts, fill the empty spaces with peace. Do not leave me hollow, but fill me with hope where anger once burned. Plant gentleness where sorrow once lingered. Plant joy, where bitterness once hardened me. Plant compassion. Let the soil of my heart be renewed, fertile for growth, ready for the seeds of your spirit. Transform the very places that were once sources of pain into sources of life. Lord, I know that letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering differently. It is seeing the wound through the lens of your love, rather than through the lens of despair. It is carrying scars not as evidence of defeat, but as reminders of survival and grace. Teach me to tell my story not as a tale of brokenness, but as a testimony of redemption. Let my life reflect not the weight of what I lost, but the beauty of what you restored. God, I feel lighter even as I speak these words. The grip of pain loosens, the shadows lift, the chains weaken. I know the journey will not always be easy, and some days the ache will return, but I trust that you will be there each time to remind me, again, I do not have to carry this alone. I do not have to hold on to what hurts when your hands are ready to hold me. Father, as I step into this day, I do so with open hands. I choose to release what has weighed me down. I choose to walk not in the shadow of pain, but in the light of freedom. I choose to believe that the one who carries me is also the one who heals me, and that in letting go I am not losing myself, but finding life in you. Father, as I release what has wounded me into your hands, I feel a quietness settling over my heart, like the hush that lingers after a storm has passed. Letting go has left me lighter, yet also more aware of the silence that follows. It is not an empty silence, but a sacred one, filled with a stillness that I have often resisted. In this stillness, there is no striving, no explaining, no defending. There is only presence, your presence surrounding me like gentle air, steady and unseen but undeniable. And here, in this sacred pause, I begin to learn the beauty of rest that comes after surrender. Lord, I confess how easily I run from stillness. I fill my days with noise, my mind with constant thought, my hands with endless work. Silence feels uncomfortable because it confronts me with what I would rather ignore. Yet now I realize that stillness is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It is the space where I stop running and finally meet you face to face. In the quiet, I hear the whispers I miss when life is too loud. In the quiet, I discover that you have been waiting, not for my words or my efforts, but simply for me. God, in this stillness I find freedom from the weight of always needing to perform. I do not have to bring eloquent prayers or perfect faith. I can simply sit with you, like a child leaning against a parent, breathing in peace. Here, I am reminded that I am not loved for what I accomplish, but for who I am, your beloved creation. This awareness begins to soften me, to calm me, to teach me that my worth is not tied to noise or activity, but to your steady gaze. Father, I ask you to deepen my capacity to rest in this stillness. Let it not be a fleeting moment, but a rhythm of my soul. Teach me how to quiet my restless thoughts, to hush the inner voices of accusation, to silence the demands that clamor for attention. Train my spirit to return again and again to this sacred space where nothing else matters but being with you. Let the quiet become my home, the place I return to when the world overwhelms me, the place where I remember who I am and who you are. Lord, in the stillness after surrender, I notice how much healing has begun to take root. What once felt jagged now feels smoother. What once burned now cools. What once controlled me now loosens its grip. It is here that I can see more clearly, without the blur of pain or the distortion of fear. It is here that I realize surrender was not loss but gain. Not weakness but strength. Not emptiness but fullness. Stillness reveals the truth that you are enough, and that nothing else needs to prove it. God, I bring into this quiet the questions I still carry. The ones without answers. The ones that linger at the edges of my mind. I lay them before you, not demanding solutions, but trusting that silence itself is sometimes the answer. I do not need to understand everything in order to rest. I do not need to control outcomes in order to trust. I only need to remain here, in the calm of your presence, where questions lose their power to unsettle me. Father, let this stillness shape the way I live beyond this prayer. Let me walk more slowly, listen more attentively, speak more gently. Let me carry an inner quiet even in noisy places, a steady calm even in restless times. Let the peace born in this silence ripple outward into how I love, how I work, how I respond. May others sense that calm not as something I created, but as something you placed within me. Lord, I ask you to guard this stillness when life tries to pull it away. Protect it when business presses in, when fear rises again, when noise surrounds me. Remind me that the calm I find here is not fragile, but anchored in you. I can return to it with a single breath, with a whispered prayer, with a moment of remembering. This stillness is not a luxury, but a necessity, not an escape, but a way of being. God, I thank you for this gift of quiet after surrender. It is here that I feel renewed, restored, recentered. It is here that I sense the strength to rise again, not in haste, but in peace. It is here that I discover the beauty of simply being, without striving to prove, without fighting to control, without clinging to what hurts. In the stillness, I find you, and in finding you, I find rest for my soul that no storm, no burden, no wound can take away. Father, in the stillness that follows surrender, I begin to sense something deeper than rest rising within me. It is not loud, not forceful, not demanding my attention. It moves softly, almost unnoticed, yet it carries a power far greater than anything I could ever manufacture. This is grace, gentle, quiet, and steady, yet stronger than fear, shame, or weakness. In this moment I realize that your grace is not only what forgives me, but also what sustains me, shaping my days with a strength that flows not from striving, but from trusting. Lord, I admit that I often misunderstand grace. I imagine it as a gift given only when I have failed, a covering for mistakes, a rescue from guilt. But you remind me that grace is more than forgiveness. It is the ongoing current of your love that carries me each day. It is the gentle strength that lifts me when I stumble, the steady hand that guides me when I falter, the quiet encouragement that whispers when I grow weary. Grace is not only for my brokenness, but for my living, not only for my weakness, but also for my growth. God, I ask you to open my eyes to the ways grace is already surrounding me. It is there in the breath I take without effort, in the sunrise that greets me without my asking, in the kindness offered by others when I least expect it. It is there in the second chances I have received, in the wisdom gained from mistakes, in the strength that appears in moments I thought I had none left. Grace weaves through my story like an invisible thread, binding together what seemed torn, redeeming what seemed lost, creating beauty where there was once only ashes. Father, I long to live more aware of this grace. Too often I move through life with clenched fists, anxious to prove myself, fearful of failure, but grace invites me to open my hands, to breathe, to trust that I am already held. It tells me I do not need to earn love, that I do not need to perform for worth, that I do not need to fear being enough. Grace teaches me that I am enough because you are enough, and your strength covers what I lack. Let this truth reshape the way I live, not frantic, not restless, but grounded in quiet confidence. Lord, I ask for grace not only to receive, but also to extend. Teach me to be patient when others stumble, to be kind when others falter, to be forgiving when others wound. Let the grace I receive from you overflow into my relationships, turning sharp words into gentleness, turning judgment into understanding, turning distance into compassion. Remind me that the people around me are as in need of grace as I am, and that withholding it only deepens wounds. Make me a vessel through which your gentle strength flows freely. God, sometimes I struggle with weakness because I see it as failure, but grace reframes weakness as the very place where your power can shine. In my frailty, your strength is revealed. In my insufficiency, your fullness is displayed. Teach me to stop hiding my weakness as though it were shameful. Instead, help me bring it into the light, offering it as space for your grace to dwell. Let me find courage not in pretending to be strong, but in allowing your strength to be made perfect through my fragility. Father, I ask this gentle strength of grace shape even the way I face challenges. When I encounter obstacles too large, let me not collapse in despair, but lean into the quiet assurance that you are with me. When I walk through seasons of confusion, let me not panic, but trust that your grace is sufficient even for the unknown. When I feel the weight of responsibility, remind me that I do not carry it alone. Let grace become the rhythm of my responses, the filter of my thoughts, the anchor of my soul. Lord, I confess that I sometimes fear grace is too good to be true, that it might run out if I fail too often or wander too far. But you remind me that your grace is not like human patience, limited or conditional. It is abundant, endless, renewed each morning like the rising sun. No failure can exhaust it. No distance can outrun it. No weakness can outweigh it. Teach me to trust that your grace is not fragile but unbreakable, not fleeting but eternal. God, let this morning be marked by gratitude for the grace that carries me, gratitude that I do not stand alone, gratitude that my worth does not depend on perfection, gratitude that every breath, every step, every new beginning is possible because of your unending mercy. As I live in this awareness, let it soften the way I move through the world, making me slower to judge, quicker to forgive, and more willing to love. Father, as I walk into this day, I carry the quiet strength of grace with me. It does not shout or demand attention, but it steadies me in every moment. It is the hand that holds me, the voice that reassures me, the power that sustains me. And in this gentle strength, I find the courage to live not in fear of failing, but in trust that your grace is enough for all that lies ahead. Father, as I carry the quiet strength of grace with me, I begin to notice how it stirs something deeper within my soul, a desire not only to be healed, but to be rebuilt. Grace has steadied my steps, yet it also whispers that I am meant to be renewed, transformed, restored from the inside out. There are parts of me that still feel fractured, like a house weathered by storms. The foundation is secure in you, but the walls need repair. The rooms need light. The structure needs renewal. This morning I bring myself to you as a work in progress, asking you to rebuild me piece by piece. Lord, I admit that I have tried to patch the cracks with quick fixes, covering over wounds with distractions, or painting over brokenness with false strength. But these repairs never last. They hide the damage for a while, but do not restore what is lost. Only you can rebuild what life has worn down. Only you can strengthen what time has weakened. Only you can take the rubble of my past and shape it into something whole again. I bring all of it to you now, the broken beams, the shattered windows, the rooms I keep locked away, asking you to enter and restore. God, rebuilding begins in places unseen, deep within my thoughts and desires. Teach me to let your spirit renew my mind, replacing lies with truth, fear with trust, self-condemnation with compassion. Rebuild my thoughts so they no longer spiral into despair but rise with hope. Rebuild my perspective so I see not only what is wrong, but also what is possible in you. Rebuild my desires so they align with love, so they reach for what brings life instead of what drains it. Let this renewal start quietly but grow steadily, like new walls rising on a firm foundation. Father, I ask you to rebuild my heart as well. Where bitterness has hardened me, soften me with gentleness. Where disappointment has closed me off, open me again to possibility. Where grief has hollowed me, fill me with comfort that does not fade. Teach me to love with openness, to risk kindness even when it is not returned, to offer forgiveness even when it feels undeserved. Rebuilding my heart means reshaping how I love, and I know that love is the truest reflection of being made new in you. Lord, I also ask you to rebuild my strength. I confess that I often feel fragile, quick to tire, easily shaken. But you promise that when I am weak, you are strong. Breathe resilience into me, not the resilience that hides pain, but the resilience that endures because it trusts. Restore my courage to try again, my patience to keep going, my endurance to rise each morning with faith. Let me not be defined by weariness, but by the quiet strength that comes from leaning on you. God, in this rebuilding process, help me to accept that it will take time. A house is not restored in a day, and neither is a soul. Teach me to celebrate small progress, the shift of a thought, the softening of a reaction, the return of joy where sorrow once ruled. Let me not despise the slowness of transformation, but see it as your careful craftsmanship. Every detail matters to you, Every hidden corner is worth restoring. Every broken part is worth healing. Father, I offer to you even the ruins I thought were beyond repair, the dreams I buried, the parts of myself I abandoned, the places I assumed would always remain broken. Take them into your hands, and if they are meant to rise again, breathe new life into them. And if they are meant to stay in the past, give me peace to release them and build something new in their place. Either way, let me trust that nothing surrendered to you is wasted. Lord, as you rebuild me, let my life become a dwelling place that reflects your beauty. Let my words be like windows letting light in. Let my actions be like doors open in welcome. Let my presence be like walls that shelter and protect. May others who come near sense not the remnants of ruin, but the signs of restoration. Not the weight of damage, but the evidence of grace at work. God, I thank you that rebuilding is not only about what is restored, but also about what is made stronger. You do not simply return me to what I was. You shape me into something more. You strengthen the foundation so it cannot be shaken. You expand the walls so love has more room to dwell. You lift the roof so hope can rise higher. You turn what once seemed like weakness into a testimony of your power. Let me embrace this process with gratitude, trusting that every step forward is evidence of your hand. Father, as I walk into this day, let me remember that I am being rebuilt from the inside out. I am not finished, but I am not abandoned. I am not complete, but I am not hopeless. I am in the hands of a master builder, and what you begin, you finish. Let me rise with that assurance, living not as one broken beyond repair, but as one being renewed daily, stronger, gentler, and more whole in you. Father, as I reflect on the slow and steady work of being rebuilt from the inside out, I cannot ignore the seasons when your presence feels hidden. Even while trusting that you are restoring me, there are moments when I strain to hear your voice and find only silence. It is in those stretches of stillness that I wrestle most with doubt, wondering if I have been forgotten or if my prayers have gone unheard. Yet I know that even silence has meaning. Even absence is not truly absence when it comes to you. Teach me to endure these moments with faith, to see them not as rejection, but as invitation. Lord, I confess how unsettling your silence feels. I long for clear answers, for immediate reassurance, for a sign that I am on the right path. When none of these come, my mind races with questions. Have I done something wrong? Have I wandered too far? Or are you simply choosing not to speak? These thoughts swirl like wind in an empty room, leaving me restless, but deep within, I sense that silence is not abandonment. It is a space where trust is tested, where faith is refined, where love learns to stand without constant reassurance. God, help me to see silence as a teacher. It teaches patience when I want speed. It teaches endurance when I want relief. It teaches humility when I want control. It strips away my dependence on feelings and trains me to believe in your promises even when they are not accompanied by emotion. It forces me to cling not to what I feel but to what I know, that you are faithful, that you do not change, that you will never leave me. In this way, silence becomes not emptiness, but refinement, shaping me into someone who trusts more deeply. Father, remind me of the truth that even when you are silent, you are not still. Beneath the quiet, you are working. Beneath the waiting, you are weaving. Beneath the unanswered questions, you are shaping answers I cannot yet see. The seed does not grow in noise, but in hidden silence. And so too does faith grow strongest when unseen. Help me to trust the unseen work, to believe that silence is not wasted but fertile ground where roots sink deeper. Lord, I remember the stories of those who walked before me, how they also faced seasons of silence. Prophets who cried out and heard nothing. Saints who prayed in the dark and waited years for light. Even your own Son, who in his agony cried out, asking why he had been forsaken. Their silence was not the end of their story, nor is it the end of mine. It was in those very moments that your plan was moving forward, unseen but unstoppable. Let me find comfort in knowing I am not alone in this silence. God, I ask you to guard my heart against the lies that silence can breed. Lies that say I am abandoned. Lies that say my prayers are pointless. Lies that say hope is foolish. Protect me from the temptation to fill the silence with noise that numbs rather than heals. Instead, let me lean into the quiet, even when it feels uncomfortable, and listen more closely. Perhaps the silence is not empty at all, but filled with whispers too gentle for hurried ears. Father, in the midst of silence, teach me to rest in remembrance. Let me recall the times you have spoken clearly, the moments when prayers were answered, the seasons when your presence was undeniable. Let those memories anchor me when the present feels uncertain. If you were faithful then, you will be faithful now. If you spoke before, you will speak again. Silence is not the erasure of your voice, but the pause between words that are still being written. Lord, give me courage to stay in the silence without running from it. Help me not to mistake the absence of noise for the absence of love. Teach me to sit with unanswered questions without demanding immediate solutions. Teach me to believe that even without fresh instruction, I am still walking within your care. In this way, silence becomes not a void, but a space of trust. Not a punishment, but a discipline of faith. God, when silence feels heavy, let me bring it back to you honestly. Let me tell you of my frustration, my doubt, my longing. I do not need to pretend that silence is easy. I only need to be real with you, knowing that even my honesty is heard. You are not offended by my cries. You are moved by them. Even if I hear nothing back, I trust that every word I speak is gathered, cherished, remembered, and one day, when the time is right, the silence will break and the answer will come. Father, until that day, let me hold on to the quiet strength of grace. Let me live in the assurance that silence does not mean separation, that stillness does not mean distance, that waiting does not mean neglect. Let me walk forward carrying the confidence that your love is constant, even when your voice is not loud. And as I wait in the silence, let me find peace in the truth that sometimes the greatest act of faith is to trust that you are near, even when all I hear is quiet. Father, as I move from the weight of silence into the space of reflection, I realize that one of the greatest gifts you give me is the ability to remember in the quiet where answers seem far away. Memory becomes a thread that ties me back to your presence. It is through remembering that I see how faithfully you have carried me before, how gently you have guided me, how consistently you have sustained me. Though the present feels uncertain, the past bears witness to your unfailing love, and that testimony steadies me. Lord, I recall moments when despair seemed final but hope rose unexpectedly, times when fear gripped my heart and yet courage was given in ways I could not explain. Nights of weeping that gave way to mornings filled with light. These memories are not small, they are milestones, markers on the path of my faith. They remind me that what feels impossible today may be the foundation of tomorrow's testimony. Remembering is not nostalgia. It is the act of gathering evidence of your faithfulness, so I can face what is ahead with confidence. God, help me to remember not only my personal journey, but also the stories written across generations. Stories of seas parted, of deserts watered, of captives set free, of broken lives restored. These are not just ancient words, but living reminders that you remain the same. The God who sustained them is the God who sustains me. When I recall these stories, they breathe courage into my weariness, because I see that silence has never been the end of your story, and waiting has never been the denial of your promise. Father, sometimes my memory is clouded by pain. It is easier to recall what hurt me than what healed me. Easier to remember failures than victories. Easier to hold on to loss than to celebrate blessing. Renew my memory so that it does not become a record of wounds, but a gallery of grace. Teach me to look back and trace the fingerprints of your mercy across even the darkest days. Show me how sorrow was met with comfort, how lack was answered with provision, how confusion was transformed into wisdom. Let memory itself become an act of worship, a way of naming your goodness again and again. Lord, I know the enemy of my soul would rather I forget the miracles, forget the answered prayers, forget the way you lifted me when I thought I would fall. Forgetting keeps me chained to fear, but remembering sets me free. When I remember, I reclaim my identity as one who has been rescued, as one who has been loved, as one who has never walked alone. Give me the discipline to practice remembrance, not just when silence presses in, but as a daily rhythm, a steady rhythm of gratitude. God, even in the smallest details of life, I see the power of remembering. A smile that reminded me of joy, a song that lifted me out of despair, a sunrise that whispered of new beginnings. These ordinary memories hold extraordinary power, because they show me that your love is not only in the grand moments, but also in the simple, daily mercies that sustain me. Teach me to treasure them, to store them in my heart, so that when I face uncertainty, I can draw upon them like water from a deep well. Father, I also ask for the courage to remember what I would rather forget. There are memories of mistakes, of wounds, regrets that I bury out of shame. Yet even there, your grace is present. When I allow myself to remember through the lens of your mercy, those painful moments are not weapons against me, but testimonies of transformation. You remind me that even in my failures, you never abandoned me. Even in my rebellion, you kept reaching for me. Even in my brokenness, you began the work of healing. Redeem my memory so that nothing in my past is wasted, not even my pain. Lord, let remembering reshape my future. As I recall your faithfulness, let it birth fresh hope. As I revisit your provision, let it plant new courage. As I remember your love, let it anchor me in the present. Memory becomes more than a record. It becomes fuel, strength for the days ahead, light for the path before me. In remembering, I learn not only who you are, but also who I am in you, beloved. Sustained, renewed, and carried. God, I thank you for the sacred gift of memory. It keeps me from despair. It guards me against lies. It strengthens me in silence. Let me walk into this day not with forgetfulness, but with remembrance alive in my heart. Let every step I take be guided by the testimony of what you have already done. Every choice I make informed by the certainty of your faithfulness. Every challenge I face met with the courage of knowing you have never failed me. Father, as I breathe in the air of this new morning, I remember once again that I am not alone. The silence may linger, the waiting may stretch, but memory assures me that you are near. The past declares what the present conceals, that you are faithful, and you will remain faithful. Let me live today with that truth burning within me, carrying me through each moment with quiet strength and unshakable hope. Father, as the stream of memories continues to flow, I feel how deeply they steady me in moments when silence presses heavy and uncertainty threatens to weaken my steps. What I remembered yesterday continues to echo today, reminding me that every act of grace in my past is not confined to history, but is alive in this present moment. The memory of your love is not a shadow, it is light that reaches into my now, carrying the strength of what has already been done into the hope of what will come. Lord, I realize that remembering is not passive. It is not simply looking back, but choosing to lift my eyes, choosing to gather the stones of testimony and build an altar of gratitude. Each memory is like a stone placed carefully, marking a place where you met me, where you rescued me, where you gave me more than I deserved. And when the winds of doubt rise, I return to those altars, and I remember, it is there that faith takes root again. There that hope is reborn. There that courage rises within me. God, there are mornings when I struggle to remember at all, when weariness fogs my mind, when pain tries to erase the good and magnify the broken. In those moments, I ask you to help me remember what I cannot recall on my own. Bring back to mind the quiet mercies, the prayers whispered and answered, the moments of unexpected kindness that carried me through. Let the Spirit stir within me memories I had forgotten, reminders that even in the smallest details of my life, you have always been near. Father, sometimes I fear that remembering will reopen wounds, that revisiting the past will lead me into grief instead of gratitude. But you show me how memory, when carried with grace, becomes a healing balm. The scar is still visible, but it no longer bleeds. The ache may linger, but it now testifies to survival. When I remember through your eyes, even sorrow takes on new meaning. It becomes proof that I endured, proof that I was not alone, proof that love sustained me through nights that once felt endless. Lord, in the act of remembering, I also begin to recognize patterns of your faithfulness. You have been the same through every season, consistent in ways I did not always notice at the time. I see how you guided me with closed doors as much as with open ones. How you protected me not only through what you gave, but also through what you withheld. Memory becomes revelation, showing me that what once felt like absence was often protection. What once seemed like loss was often redirection. What once appeared as silence was often preparation. God, I am learning that remembering is not just for me. The stories of your goodness are meant to be shared, to encourage those who walk behind me, just as I draw strength from the testimony of those who lived before me. So too can others be lifted by my remembering. Let me speak of your faithfulness without fear of sounding weak, without hesitation to reveal how often I have been carried. Let me tell of the ways you met me in the wilderness, so others wandering now may know they are not lost. Memory becomes seed, planted in the hearts of others, growing into faith beyond my own. Father, there is a tenderness in remembering that softens my heart. It prevents me from growing cold, from becoming hardened by disappointment. It draws me back to gratitude, reminding me that even in the midst of struggle, I have been blessed. Gratitude changes the posture of my soul, turning my eyes upward instead of inward, teaching me to see the abundance I often overlook. In remembering, I find myself more willing to trust again, more ready to love again, more open to hope again. Lord, let my memory be like a lantern in the dark. When the night is long, let it cast a gentle light, enough to remind me of the path, enough to keep me moving forward. I do not need to see the entire way. I only need to know I am not walking alone. Every remembered moment is a spark, and together they form a fire that cannot be extinguished. In this fire, doubt loses its grip, fear loses its voice, despair loses its weight. The power of remembering is that it keeps faith alive when everything else feels uncertain. God, I thank you that memory also fuels anticipation. Because you have acted before, I can believe you will act again. Because you have spoken in the past, I can wait for your voice with expectation. Because you have carried me through valleys, I can trust that the next mountain will also be climbed with your strength. Remembering is the foundation of hope, and hope is what keeps me steady in the present. Father, as I step into this day, I carry not only the memory of what you have done, but also the confidence that you remain the same. Yesterday's miracles are today's assurance and tomorrow's promise. Let remembering be more than a fleeting thought. Let it be a daily practice, a rhythm of trust, a habit of gratitude. And as I live in this remembrance, let my life shine as a living testimony, a reminder to others that even in silence, even in waiting, even in uncertainty, your faithfulness endures without end. Father, as I carry the gift of remembering into this morning, I also feel the weight of what remembering sometimes brings. Alongside the memories of grace, there are also memories of wounds, moments that ache even now, places where pain lingers like a shadow. It is not easy to admit how tightly I hold on to hurt, how often I revisit what was said, what was lost, what was broken. Yet I know that to move forward with freedom, I must learn to release the grip of pain. I cannot rebuild fully if I am still carrying the rubble of what once collapsed. Lord, letting go feels impossible at times, Pain can feel like a part of my identity, so deeply woven into me that to release it feels like losing a piece of myself. Yet I hear the whisper that I am more than my wounds, that I am not defined by what hurt me, but by the one who heals me. Help me to believe that releasing pain is not forgetting, not dismissing, not pretending it never mattered. It is trusting that you are greater than the wound, that you can take even the deepest sorrow and weave it into redemption. God, there are faces that still come to mind, words that replay like echoes, events that feel unfinished. I confess that I sometimes nurture anger because it makes me feel stronger, or hold on to grief because it keeps me connected to what I lost. But these ties do not free me. They chain me. Teach me to lay them down, one by one, not in my own strength, but in yours. Help me unclench my fists, not because the pain was small, but because your mercy is greater. Father, I need courage to release not only the hurts caused by others, but also the pain I inflict upon myself. Regret is heavy, shame is relentless, and guilt is suffocating. I carry them as though punishing myself could undo what is already past. Yet you remind me that forgiveness is not only something I extend outward, but something I must learn to receive. Let me embrace your mercy with humility, letting it wash away the weight I was never meant to carry. Show me how to forgive myself with the same compassion you show me daily. Lord, letting go is not a single act, but a daily choice. Each time the memory returns, each time the wound aches, I must choose again to release it into your hands. Give me patience with myself when I falter, when I take back what I have laid down. Teach me that healing is not linear but layered, that every step of surrender matters. Remind me that you are gentle with me in the process, never rushing, never condemning, always guiding me closer to freedom. God, I long to know what life feels like without bitterness lodged in my heart. I long to breathe without the heaviness of resentment pressing against my chest. I long to wake in the morning with hope unclouded by sorrow. Letting go is the doorway to such freedom, and though it feels narrow, you walk through it with me. Show me the beauty on the other side of release, the joy of carrying only what is necessary, the peace of traveling light. Father, I ask that you replace what I let go with something new. Where pain leaves emptiness, fill me with compassion. Where bitterness departs, plant gentleness. Where grief is released, bring comfort that steadies. I do not want to simply abandon pain and be left hollow. I want to exchange it for something holy, something that reflects your love. Only you can transform wounds into wisdom, sorrow into strength, loss into longing that points to eternity. Lord, I recognize that part of letting go is trusting you with justice. My heart longs for wrongs to be made right, for wounds to be acknowledged, for truth to be spoken. Yet I cannot carry the burden of making all things fair. That is a weight too great for me, but not too great for you. Teach me to entrust justice into your hands, to believe that you see what is unseen, that you will heal what I cannot, and that nothing surrendered to you is lost. God, even as I pray these words, I feel resistance within me. The desire to hold on is strong, but I also feel your spirit tugging at me, inviting me into freedom. This tug is gentle, not forceful, and it tells me that release is not demanded, but offered as gift. Let me lean into that gift. Let me practice it with small steps, trusting that over time, the tightness will ease and the wound will breathe. Father, as I step into this day, help me to carry less. Help me to remember not only your faithfulness, but also your invitation to freedom. Remind me that I cannot change the past, but I can choose how it shapes me. Let it not make me bitter but tender, not hardened but open, not defined by loss but transformed by love. As I let go of what hurts, let me find that my hands are open, ready to receive the new life you are always offering. Father, as I lean deeper into the act of release, I recognize how letting go is not a single moment, but a lifelong rhythm. The more I surrender the pain, the more I see how it tries to cling, how it returns in waves, how it tempts me to pick it up again. Yet I also notice how every time I lay it back into your hands, a little more space opens in me, a little more freedom grows, a little more peace breathes into the places where heaviness once lived. Letting go is not weakness, but courage, and I ask you to help me continue choosing it day after day. Lord, sometimes the hardest part is not the pain itself, but the identity I have built around it. I have grown so accustomed to carrying certain wounds that I hardly know who I am without them. They have become part of my story, shaping my reactions, coloring my perspective, guarding my heart with walls. But you whisper that I am more than what has hurt me, that my truest identity is found not in scars, but in love. Help me step beyond the boundaries of pain, into the open fields of grace, where I can breathe more freely and live more fully. God, I think of how nature itself teaches me this truth. The trees let go of their leaves when the season shifts, trusting that new life will come in spring. Rivers release fallen branches, carrying them away so the water can keep flowing. Even the sky lets go of storms, clearing to reveal sunlight again. Creation does not cling to what is meant to pass. It moves forward in rhythm with the seasons you designed. Teach me to follow this pattern, to let go when it is time, to trust that release is not the end, but the beginning of something new. Father, I know that part of letting go means choosing forgiveness. Forgiveness is not easy. It feels like releasing someone from a debt they should pay, like loosening my grip on a justice I long to see. Yet you remind me that forgiveness is not excusing wrong, but setting myself free. It is opening the prison I built for another and discovering that I was the one locked inside. Help me forgive with sincerity, not from obligation but from the deep desire to live unchained. Let forgiveness flow not only toward others but toward myself, so that every weight is lifted, every bond is broken, every shadow is turned to light. Lord, there are nights when the memories return with such intensity that I wake with tears. There are days when words spoken years ago echo as if they were new. In those moments, I feel powerless to let go, powerless to quiet the voices. But I know that where I am weak, you are strong. Step into those fragile hours and remind me of your presence. Speak into the noise of my mind with words of peace. Wrap me in the comfort that tells me, do not have to fight this battle alone. God, I also realize that letting go often requires replacing what is lost with new habits of the heart. If I let go of bitterness, I must practice kindness. If I release anger, I must cultivate patience. If I set down sorrow, I must lift gratitude. This is not simply abandoning one thing, but embracing another. Shape my choices so that each release becomes a planting. Each surrender becomes a sowing. Each empty space becomes filled with something that reflects your love more deeply. Father, when I think of the hurt I still hold, I recognize that some of it is rooted in fear. Fear that if I let go, I will be vulnerable again. Fear that if I forgive, the wound will be repeated. Fear that release will mean I have no control. Yet you remind me that control was never mine to begin with, that my safety is not found in clinging, but in trusting. Help me place my security in you, not in walls I build around my heart. Give me courage to risk freedom, knowing that love itself always involves vulnerability, but that love in you is stronger than fear. Lord, I ask you to help me remember that letting go is not erasing the past. The pain I release does not vanish. It becomes part of the testimony of grace. The story is not undone. It is redeemed. The scar remains, but it becomes a marker of survival, a sign of your healing, a testimony that even in brokenness, I was not abandoned. Let me carry my story with honesty, but without chains, with humility, but without shame, with gratitude that I was brought through what once seemed impossible to bear. God, I wonder how different my life would feel if I truly lived free of old hurts. How much lighter would my steps be? How much softer would my words become? How much more open would my heart feel if I stopped carrying weights that were never mine to hold forever? Give me a vision of that freedom, and let it pull me forward. Let me wake each day with the choice to walk in release, to live unbound, to open myself to joy without fear that sorrow will steal it away. Father, this morning I place the pain once more in your hands, not as an act of finality, but as a daily practice of trust. I will keep releasing, keep surrendering, keep laying down what hurts until it no longer defines me. I believe that as I do, you will continue to fill me with peace, to shape me with compassion, to free me with love. Letting go may take time, but with every breath of surrender, I am learning that freedom is possible, and in that freedom, I am becoming more of who I was always meant to be. Father, after learning to release what has hurt me, I feel the tender weight of freedom beginning to settle in my soul. It is not loud or dramatic, but steady, quiet, and real. Freedom does not arrive as a sudden burst of light. It grows like dawn, spreading gently across the horizon of my heart. The more I let go, the more I find space within me that once was occupied by pain. And in that space, new life begins to bloom. This freedom is not fragile. It is rooted in your presence, grounded in the truth that I am no longer bound by what once held me captive. Lord, freedom feels unfamiliar at first. I have lived so long carrying burdens that to walk without them feels strange, almost as if something is missing. Yet slowly, I am learning that what is missing is not loss but relief. The chains that once weighed me down have fallen, and though the marks remain on my soul, they no longer bind me. You invite me to walk forward, not glancing back at the shadows that trailed me, but lifting my eyes to the open path ahead. Show me how to embrace freedom without fear, to live unshackled, to step boldly into the life you are offering. God, freedom does not mean forgetting responsibility. It does not mean ignoring wisdom or living carelessly. Instead, it means living awake, living aware, no longer defined by wounds or trapped in cycles of bitterness. It is choosing to see each day not as something to survive, but as a gift to receive. It is opening my heart to joy without suspicion, to love without hesitation, to hope without dread. This freedom is not reckless, but redeemed. Not careless, but careful in the most sacred sense, careful to guard what is good, to honor what is true, to protect what is holy. Father, in this freedom I also find courage to love again. Hurt once taught me to close my heart, to build walls, to keep safe by keeping distant, but freedom calls me to risk love once more. Not because people will never wound me again, but because love is worth it even when it costs. Love is stronger than fear, stronger than memory, stronger than loss. Let me love with the courage of one who has been set free, who no longer clings to old chains, but trusts that every act of love, even when vulnerable, is part of the new life you are building in me. Lord, I notice how freedom reshapes my vision. Where once I saw only through the lens of pain, I now see through the lens of possibility. Where bitterness clouded my perspective, gratitude clears the air. Where sorrow kept my eyes downcast, joy lifts them upward. Freedom opens my vision to recognize beauty in ordinary things. The warmth of morning light, the sound of laughter, the gentleness of kindness shared. These small wonders become reminders that life is not meant to be lived in shadows, but in light, and that every day holds pieces of heaven waiting to be noticed. God, freedom also teaches me to trust again. Pain once made me doubt whether good things would last, whether promises could be trusted, whether safety was real. But in freedom, I remember that trust is not rooted in circumstances, but in you. You are unchanging, steady, and true. Even when people fail, you remain constant. Even when life shifts, your love endures. Trusting you allows me to walk forward unafraid, because no matter what lies ahead, I know you walk with me. Freedom is not the absence of risk, but the presence of trust that transforms risk into possibility. Father, I ask you to keep me vigilant in this freedom, for I know how easy it is to pick up the chains again, to revisit old hurts, to slip back into familiar bitterness. Guard my heart against the temptation to return to what you have already released me from. Remind me that freedom is not maintained by willpower, but by surrender. Each morning, let me lay my life before you again, not as one who fears being bound, but as one who delights in living free. Lord, as I walk in this freedom, help me to use it not only for myself, but for others. Let my life become a signpost, showing that healing is possible, that release is real, that love can rise again from ashes. Let me extend compassion to those still trapped, patience to those still hurting, encouragement to those still waiting. Freedom grows when it is shared, when it becomes not just a personal gift, but a communal grace. Teach me to be generous with my freedom, offering hope without condition, kindness without expectation, Love without fear. God. Walking in freedom does not erase the past, but it transforms how I carry it. The wounds become stories. The scars become testimonies. The losses become reminders of grace. What once weighed me down now strengthens me. What once silenced me now gives me a voice. What once broke me now shapes me into someone who can walk with others through their own valleys. Freedom does not erase who I was, it redeems who I am and who I am becoming. Father, as I step into this day, let freedom guide my every breath. Let my words be seasoned with gentleness. My steps be light with peace. My eyes be bright with hope. Let me live as one who has been unchained, not for my own glory, but to reflect yours. For true freedom is found not in escaping pain, but in living fully in your love, no longer bound by what hurts, but carried forward by what heals. And in this freedom, I find joy, courage, and the promise that every step taken in you is a step into wholeness. Father, as I continue walking in freedom, I sense how this journey does not stop with release, but moves steadily into renewal. Freedom clears away the chains, but renewal plants something fresh where the chains once were. It is not enough to be unbound. I long to be remade, to live with a heart that reflects not the scars of captivity, but the beauty of transformation. Renewal is your gift, the gentle work of shaping me day by day into someone who carries light, peace, and strength wherever I go. Lord, the freedom you have given feels like a new beginning, yet beginnings can feel fragile. I wake some mornings with the weight of habit pulling at me, trying to draw me back to old ways of thinking. But each time I choose trust over fear, gratitude over bitterness, openness over withdrawal. I notice something remarkable. My soul grows stronger, my spirit steadier, my heart more alive. Renewal is not a single moment, but a daily rhythm. And I ask you to keep me faithful in that rhythm, to help me keep saying yes to life with you. God, I think of how the world around me testifies to renewal. The ground that lay frozen all winter bursts forth with flowers in spring. Rivers that seemed dry begin to flow again after rain. The sky clears after a storm, unveiling colors brighter than before. Creation itself whispers that nothing stays barren forever, that life is always waiting to rise again. Let me take courage from these reminders, trusting that renewal is not only possible but promised, not only a hope, but a reality unfolding within me even now. Father, renewal also means seeing myself with new eyes. For so long, I saw myself through the lens of pain, failure, or regret. I believed I was defined by what I had done wrong, or what had been done to me. But now you call me to see differently. You call me to see myself as beloved, restored, whole. Teach me to carry this new identity with humility, not pride, with gratitude, not fear. Let me speak kindly to myself, extend patience to myself, and live in the truth that I am no longer the same. Lord, renewal does not erase my past. It transforms my relationship to it. Where there once was shame, now there is testimony. Where there once was fear, now there is courage. Where there once was loss, now there is longing that points me toward eternity. Renewal means that even the hardest parts of my story are not wasted, but are woven into something stronger. richer, and deeper. Remind me that nothing surrendered to you stays broken. It becomes part of the new creation you are shaping within me. God, I ask that renewal touch not only my inner life, but also the way I live outwardly. Let my words carry kindness that lifts instead of wounds. Let my actions reflect gentleness that heals instead of harms. Let my presence bring peace instead of tension, light instead of heaviness. Renewal is not hidden. It is visible in the way I live, in the choices I make, in the way others encounter love through me. Shape me into someone whose very life testifies to the quiet miracle of being renewed. Father, sometimes I worry that renewal will fade, that this fire within me will dim, that old patterns will rise again. But you remind me that renewal is not my work alone. It is yours. You are faithful to finish what you begin, faithful to sustain what you plant, faithful to water what you grow. My part is to remain open, to stay surrendered, to keep showing up in trust. Renewal does not depend on my perfection, but on your persistence. And that truth gives me peace. Lord, I pray that my renewal would ripple outward into the lives of those around me. Let my freedom inspire others to release their chains. Let my renewal encourage others to hope again. Let my words and actions point not to my own strength, but to the one who restores all things. I want my life to be a living witness that no matter how broken, weary, or scarred we are, renewal is possible. Hope is alive. Healing is real. God, I thank you that renewal does not mean becoming someone else, but becoming who I truly am in you. It is not about discarding who I was, but about uncovering who I was always meant to be: whole, loved, radiant in your presence. Renewal makes me lighter, but it also makes me stronger. It makes me softer, but it also makes me braver. It teaches me to live not from fear, but from abundance, not from emptiness, but from fullness, not from despair, but from hope. Father, as this new day unfolds, I want to live in the fullness of renewal. Let every step I take, every word I speak, every thought I nurture be marked by this newness. Let me rise each morning not with dread, but with anticipation, not with heaviness, but with gratitude. Renewal is not a dream. It is a daily gift, and I choose to receive it. Let my life shine with the beauty of this renewal, so that wherever I go, others may see in me the quiet but undeniable evidence of love remaking a soul from the inside out. Father, as renewal flows into my life and begins shaping my steps in freedom, I realize how essential remembering remains in sustaining this newness. Renewal can feel fragile without roots, but memory gives it depth. When I recall where I have been, what I have endured, and how you carried me, the present becomes stronger and the future steadier. Remembering is not simply looking back, it is anchoring the now with the evidence of your faithfulness. It teaches me that the same love that restored me before, still alive, still working, still guiding me today. Lord, sometimes I worry that I will forget the lessons hidden within past struggles. I fear that the clarity I gain in moments of grace will fade as life grows busy again. Yet you remind me that remembering is a discipline, a practice of the heart. I can choose to revisit the milestones of mercy, to pause and trace the threads of your kindness woven through my story. Each memory is a flame that keeps hope burning, especially when shadows creep in again. Memory becomes not only comfort but strength, reminding me that I stand on a foundation that cannot be shaken. God. I find that remembering works best when it turns into gratitude. It is not enough to recall events. I must let them stir thanksgiving. Thankfulness transforms memory from a dusty record into a living song. When I thank you for what you have done, I feel the weight of despair lift. Gratitude pulls me upward, reshaping my perspective, reminding me that even in seasons of silence or struggle, there were always blessings, always glimpses of light, always evidence of love. Gratitude breathes life into memory, and memory strengthens hope. Father, help me remember not only the victories, but also the valleys, for it was in the valleys that I discovered your nearness most profoundly. It was in sorrow that I learned the depth of your comfort, in weakness that I encountered the fullness of your strength, in confusion that I found the quiet assurance of your presence. Remembering the valleys does not reopen wounds, but reveals the beauty of being carried when I could not walk. Each valley reminds me that I am never alone, even in the darkest paths. Lord, memory also connects me to those who walked before. The stories of faith handed down are not relics of history. They are reminders that I belong to a greater story, one that stretches beyond my own lifetime. When I recall the courage of those who trusted you through hardship, I feel my own heart steadied. Their faith is a torch passed into my hands, and I carry it forward not as a burden, but as a blessing. Remembering ties me to this unbroken chain of love and faithfulness that stretches from generation to generation. God, I sometimes resist remembering because it means facing regrets. It means acknowledging mistakes, failures, choices that caused pain. But even here, remembering is powerful. For when I remember through the lens of grace, regret becomes testimony. Mistakes become markers of transformation. Failures become reminders of forgiveness. Wounds become proof of healing. Memory redeemed is no longer a weapon against me, but a witness to how deeply you have loved me in spite of everything. This redemption turns shame into gratitude, and despair into hope. Father, I ask that you sharpen my memory, not only for my own sake, but for the sake of others. Let me recall stories of kindness when someone else needs encouragement. Let me share testimonies of your provision when someone else feels the weight of lack. Let me speak of your faithfulness when another is drowning in doubt. Memory becomes a ministry when it is offered generously, when it moves beyond my private comfort into shared hope that lifts weary souls. Lord, in remembering, I see how much I owe to your patience. You never rushed me through pain. You never scolded me for doubt. You waited, walked, and worked even when I could not see. The patience I remember in you becomes the patience I want to extend to others. It teaches me to be gentle, to wait with grace, to walk with compassion. Memory shapes my character, reminding me of who you are and calling me to live in that same spirit toward the world around me. God, memory also fuels anticipation. If you have carried me before, you will carry me again. If you have spoken before, you will speak again. If you have healed before, you will heal again. The past becomes a guarantee of the future. Not because circumstances are predictable, but because your love is constant. Remembering tells me that the story is not over, that renewal is still unfolding, that freedom is still deepening. It reminds me that hope is never wasted, that trust is never in vain, that love is always stronger than fear. Father, as this day unfolds, let remembering be the rhythm that carries me. Let it steady me when I grow restless, calm me when I grow anxious, strengthen me when I grow weary. Let me remember the valleys, the victories, the mercies, and the miracles. Let me carry these memories as treasures that cannot be stolen, as lights that cannot be dimmed, as songs that cannot be silenced. In remembering, I find peace. In remembering, I find courage. In remembering, I find once again that I am held, loved, and renewed in you. Father, as I come to this quiet moment, my heart feels the weight of the journey I have traveled in these mornings of prayer. Each day has been a step, each word a stone laid upon the path, each breath a reminder that you have been here with me all along. I began this journey with trembling hands and weary soul, unsure of what would come. But now I look back and see how you have walked with me through despair, silence, release, freedom, and renewal. My life is not the same as when I started, and though I am still imperfect, still learning, still growing, I am also more alive, more whole, more rooted in you than I have ever been. Lord, I realize that what began as whispers of desperation has become a steady conversation of love. The words that once felt heavy with sorrow now rise lighter with hope. The tears that once blurred my eyes have watered the soil of my faith, and from that soil, new life has grown. I no longer pray only out of need, but out of longing, not just to be rescued, but to be near you. My soul has been stretched, my spirit deepened, my heart softened by the presence of your grace. God, this morning feels like both an ending and a beginning. I have walked a long path through these prayers, and yet I know that prayer itself does not end here. It flows forward, like a river that does not stop at one bend, but continues to carve its way through valleys and plains. The words I speak today will not be my last, but they carry a sense of fulfillment, of having seen what I once doubted, of having found what I once feared was lost. It is not closure, but continuation, the gentle unfolding of something eternal. Father, I thank you for the strength you have given me to endure the weight of silence, the courage you have given me to let go of what hurt me, the gentleness you have poured into me through grace, the freedom you have opened before me, and the renewal that now breathes within me. I thank you for memory that reminds me of what you have done, for hope that tells me what you will do, for love that steadies me in every season. Gratitude fills me until words fall short. Yet I know you understand even what I cannot say. Lord, I also thank you for every person who has joined me in this journey of prayer, for the hearts that listened, the souls that opened, the spirits that leaned into these words with longing. We have walked together through valleys and over ridges, across storms and into stillness, And though our paths are unique, our hearts are connected by the same longing for you. To those who have stayed to the end, I offer my gratitude. Thank you for walking this path with me, for opening your heart to these prayers, for seeking something deeper in the stillness of morning. God, I pray for each listener, each reader, each soul who has reached this moment. May they carry with them not only the words, but the presence that breathes through them. May they find courage in their silence, freedom in their surrender, joy in their renewal. May they be reminded that they are not alone, that they are seen, loved, and carried by you. And when they falter, let them remember the prayers they have prayed, the whispers they have spoken, the faith they have nurtured, and let it lift them once again. Father, as we step from prayer into the rhythm of daily life, let this not feel like a separation, but an integration. Let every moment become prayer, every breath, every step, every thought a quiet offering of love. Let the ordinary become sacred, the routine become radiant, the unseen moments become filled with your presence. Prayer is not only in the words we speak, but in the way we live. And I pray that our lives would become prayers that never cease, songs that never end, lights that never dim. Lord, as we draw near to the horizon of this morning, I see the beauty of how it mirrors this journey. The night has given way, the shadows have lifted, the first rays of light spread across the sky. The world awakens with hope, and so does my heart. The path ahead may still hold trials, but it also holds promise. The silence may return, but so will remembrance. Pain may rise again, but so will freedom. Renewal is not finished. It is still unfolding, and hope is still alive. God, I ask that the words shared here ripple outward, touching hearts beyond what I can see, planting seeds that will grow long after the sound fades. Let this be more than prayer, let it be a beginning, a spark that ignites others to seek you in their own silence, in their own valleys, in their own mornings of need. May this be not an end, but a doorway, opening into lives filled with faith, love, and the quiet strength of grace. Father, thank you once more for every soul who has walked to this point. Thank you, dear friend, for listening, for staying, for opening your heart. You are invited to share your own prayer, your own story, your own gratitude, for there is power in joining together in honesty and hope. I invite you to share in the space below, to let your words join mine in weaving a tapestry of faith. And if these prayers have carried you, I ask that you stay with us, that you subscribe, that you share this journey so others may also find what you have found. Let us continue walking together, day after day, sustaining faith, nurturing hope, and living in the light of love. And as these words fall to stillness, I leave you not with an ending, but with an image gentle, soft, eternal. The horizon glows with the warmth of dawn. A tender breeze moves across the fields, and the sound of living waters whispers of unending renewal. The journey continues, carried on light, carried on wind, carried on love,